Welcome to the podcast, where we teach you how to create marketing that pops. Get ready for refreshing conversations with industry experts, trendsetters, and creative minds that'll leave you bubbling with inspiration. Get ready to turn up the volume on your business. Let's get popping. Welcome back to Marketing That Pops. I am Olivia and
I'm Michelle.
And today we have a special guest with us, Keith. He is the president of Stable Books Group. And Keith, we are so excited to have you on the podcast. Would you love to tell our audience a little bit about yourself, and then we can get into it?
Sure thing. So I'm Keith Riegert. I'm president of Stable Book Group. I'm also CEO of Perfect Bound, which is a SaaS platform for the publishing industry. I've spent almost my entire career in independent publishing. So I initially started out as an acquisitions editor for the publishing company that my parents founded, Ulysses Press, and have since moved into different areas of publishing. I have my MBA from NYU Stern in analytics and marketing, and now sit on the board of NYU Publishing as well as the Independent Book Publishers Association.
Awesome. That is great. We were just talking in our CEO roundtable about, do you have a book? Have you written a book? And how have you marketed yourself? So I'm excited to see this interview goes.
Excellent.
As I was telling you, with every episode, we start off with a myth that we have our guests debunk. So today, I want to ask you all about AI. So there is a myth that AI will replace authors and make human-written books obsolete. What do you have to say about that?
I think that is definitely a myth, although I will caveat it. So there is not a single publishing company that I know of that is an established publisher that is allowing AI-generated material to come into the market. Part of it is because ethically it is a pretty bad area. It makes authors and readers pretty upset. And part of it is legal. So if a book cannot be copyrighted because it has been created by AI, that's a huge issue. You also have a very hard time tracking whether there is any plagiarized material that is being created by AI. That being said, we are seeing a phenomenal amount of self-published AI slop coming onto Amazon in particular. We've had a lot of complaints from authors across the spectrum, from indies to big five publishers, saying that people are publishing books that are either ripping off their topic or their actual persona and getting those books out onto the market as soon as their book is announced and begins to pre-order on Amazon. So that is a very big issue that we're tracking in the publishing industry pretty closely.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know AI definitely has its wins, but it also has some losses too. So that's interesting how that's impacting the publishing world. I'd love to hear a little bit more of your background, and you touched on this a little bit, but I'd love to hear kind of how you got your start in publishing.
I was an English literature major, just like everybody else in publishing. I very vividly remember when I was going to college, my dad, who was the publisher of Ulysses Press, our family company, pushing me as hard as possible not to go into publishing. And of course, I made a beeline because I wanted to prove him wrong. I hate to admit it, but I think he was probably right. Wonderful industry, but very tough. And then, Ulysses Press started as a travel book publishing company. The internet around 2000 pretty much destroyed the travel publishing industry and only left a couple of standing publishers that you all probably know very well, Frommer's Lonely Planet. So in 2001, BookScan came out, which is a data set that tracks about 70% of sales across the country, across Amazon, independent bookstores, Target, Walmart, et cetera. And we pivoted to using that data set with what we kind of considered Moneyball for publishing. So we were looking at trends, we were identifying them before those trends started to take off, and it has worked extremely well for us for about 20 years now.
Mhm.
And that is why I ended up getting my degree in statistics and analytics, was I really wanted to know how we could take that one step farther.
Mhm.
So we have been doing data-driven publishing. We've now applied it to a lot of different categories and genres. And with the Stable Book Group, we are slowly rolling up independent publishers into one collective that is going to have a lot more power and economies of scale than just operating individual independent publishers on their own. So deeply entrenched in this industry, and I have a lot of faith that this is going to be a golden era of publishing, in part because, it is one of the only forms of entertainment that is analog. You get
Mhm.
a break from your screen, and getting a break from your screen is now becoming more and more of a luxury. So I think that we're very well positioned for success.
Absolutely.
Are there tools that you use in the publishing industry for the analytics and statistics? Or is that more of a manual thing? Like, I know, like, for us, we do have certain marketing agency type of tools. So I'm just curious to hear what those are.
Yeah, a lot of it is homegrown. I code in Python, and we do a lot of research by building out longitudinal data sets. We use R, and now we are using ChatGPT more and more to do the
Mhm.
same things that we were doing manually or through coding. And I will tell you that my first oh shit moment with AI was I asked it to write some code in Python, and in 3 seconds it wrote better, cleaner code than I had ever written. And I had this feeling wash over me that I'd wasted years of my life learning
Oh, no.
AI came out. And that was sort of the thing that triggered me to pay very close attention to what is going on in the AI world.
Yeah, no, for sure. Also, I feel like in this era that we've been in, social media like TikTok, I've just noticed that there's been like this resurgence of book readers with like TikTok and everything. How do you feel like that has kind of impacted like the publishing world? And have you guys kind of seen that on the other end of it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that I worked for a couple of years for Hachette Book Group, which is one of the big five publishers, and
Mhm.
had the opportunity to work on the marketing strategy team, which oversaw all of the imprints. And my role was in analytics and tracking what was working and what wasn't. And when
Mhm.
I came back to Ulysses to take over for my parents when they retired, I was able to come in and say, we don't need publicity. We don't need to be running ads in the New York Times. We need to focus all of our marketing spend on social media,
Mhm.
because that is what works. That's where you get a positive return on your investment for your marketing dollars.
Mhm.
And that has continued. I made that transition in 2019, and we have seen a lot of success with Facebook and Instagram advertising, some with LinkedIn, and then quite a bit with TikTok. And I think the future of publishing is moving more and more towards direct to consumer, very e-commerce focused, with, as few clicks as possible to get that
Mhm.
reader from Facebook or Instagram or TikTok to purchasing your product on your Shopify store or something like that. So it's become a huge part of publishing. I
Mhm.
don't see it going away. Ironically, I consider social media, especially TikTok, to be one of our biggest competitors as a
Mm.
substitute, not as a,
Mm.
a replacement or a direct competitor for publishing. We definitely, in the publishing industry, we don't consider books to be a zero sum game. People are going to read a lot of books. They're going to buy books from multiple publishers on a single topic. But
Right.
what is a zero sum game is readers' time. And we're seeing more and more that we are losing to streaming and
Mhm.
scrolling.
Yeah. I feel like this is just as a user point of view, but I feel like, that's one of the things that COVID kind of gave back to us was people trying to not be inundated with so much. And you saw a lot more of like book clubs and book groups
Yeah.
kind of like come back in. I'm definitely a part of one, so I'm here for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, the pandemic were golden times for publishers across the spectrum.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Is there a certain type of book that is kind of like your specialty or that you have been doing a lot of lately?
So I have a philosophy for publishing that is we need to treat our publishing company like it's an investment portfolio. So I want
Mhm.
us to be as diversified as possible. We specialize in nonfiction publishing, but we are doing more and more fiction. We have not gotten into the romantasy craze. I think that's pretty super saturated.
Mm.
But, a lot of what we developed with our data driven strategy was around understanding what the different retailers were purchasing and bringing into the stores. And then a lot of it was understanding SEO on Amazon and how we could essentially print money by correctly targeting audiences that were already looking for specific subjects that were significantly underpublished. And that
Mm.
has been our bread and butter for a long time. As we've started to buy other publishing companies, we're continuing to look for those types of companies. So, what is going to diversify us into the equine publishing world, which it is did with our purchase of Trafalgar Square Books, and the reason that we loved that was it is a category that we don't have expertise in that we could tap into, and they are the category killers for specific course topics, and that's what we're always looking for.
Are you doing anything with, I was saying earlier, our CEO roundtable was talking about, authority building, having your own book. How would that go? Like when people come to you, are they, I don't know, I would like to do a book, but where do I start? Like, what
Yeah.
does that look like?
So we, for the last 20 years have done our acquisitions process in reverse. So we do the data research and then we go find the expert to write the book on that subject. But
Okay.
now with the stable, we have brought in She Writes Press, which is a hybrid publishing operation. And that has done very well with everything from business books to memoirs and novels. And we're expanding that model right now. And the thing that I always tell CEOs in my CEO groups is, a book is the best calling card you could have. It signifies that you have taken the time to put down your thoughts. You've spent a lot of effort to write this book, and it is a significant insight into your business strategy and who you are as a leader. It's not always going to make you money, but it is going to have a profound impact on your career moving forward. So there are a lot of resources for getting started with writing a book. There are also a lot of companies that specialize in ghostwriting and pairing you up with an expert that is going to be able to help you flesh that book. And then there are hybrid publishing companies that will do the full thing for you. So put you together with a ghostwriter, package your book, market your book, get it distributed, get it into Barnes and Noble, potentially get you on the New York Times bestseller list. So there are a lot of resources out there if you are willing to invest in a project that most likely is not going to give you a positive ROI on that
Mhm.
particular endeavor, but is going to have ancillary benefits that are, pretty priced.
Yeah, I think just like the authority building, the fact that you have a book, when you're meeting with prospects, giving them these books, could even like mail out books, with
Mhm.
little notes in them, things like that.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing to consider when you're moving towards creating a book is make sure to have it available in every format. There are people who like reading ebooks. They're going to do most of their reading on the subway, on their
Mhm.
Kindle. There is a huge growing market for audio. So making sure that your book is available in every format is critical at this point.
Are there any specific analytics that you would tell like somebody who like has a small book or is launching a book that they should be kind of some key indicators that they maybe should be tracking?
I mean, the biggest thing is understanding what the market is. So my favorite tool is Seller App, which tracks products on Amazon. It also has a phenomenal keyword research component. And if you want to get your book out there organically, you have to be able to reach that audience with the keywords that they're already searching for. And traditionally, Amazon has run on a very straightforward SEO hierarchy, where the title is your H1 tag. That is going to be the most powerful piece of metadata on your book page. And then it sort of begins to cascade down from there. So the first sentence of your book description all the way down to your A+ content and your off-page keywords need to be very well honed to ensure that people are discovering those books organically. Seller App, we also use Moz quite a bit, SimilarWeb for all of that. And you have to treat Amazon as it is. It's the number 3 biggest search engine in the country behind Google and YouTube. And it is the place that people begin their purchase journey very, very often.
Good insight.
Yeah. I know at one point, like Amazon was printing and publishing books for people. I think it was like Create Space or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Are they still doing that?
Yeah. So CreateSpace has turned into Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, and it is a phenomenal resource. It is the easiest way to get your book out. If you are going down the self-publishing route, the best thing that you can do is first register your book with Ingram's Lightning Source, or I guess it's Spark. And once you have it up in Lightning Source, enroll it into Amazon's KDP, and you'll capture the entire market. You're not going to get your book into Barnes & Noble, but you are going to be able to get your book available to any retailer that wants to purchase it through Ingram. And then you'll be able to really dominate the Amazon market through KDP. And Amazon loves it because, they make more money off of each book because they're charging cost of goods and they're controlling that whole value chain. I don't have any evidence for it, but I would assume that the algorithm is going to treat you a little bit better than a third-party retailer trying to sell a book through Amazon.
What does the cost look like for someone that, say they want to do a book and they want to work with a ghostwriter? Is that like 10,000, 50,000, 100,000? What does that look like?
I would be prepared for working with a ghostwriter for it to be a $50,000 project for sure.
Okay.
I think packages will often get up to $100,000 or $200,000, and that will include marketing and publicity. So it is a significant chunk of change that you need to be ready to spend. And again, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to recoup that investment through book sales, but will recoup it through the domain authority that you get from having that book out there.
Right.
Smart.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear, how do you kind of engage with your authors to build that audience with, like, on social media? Is that something that you are, I'm sure, encouraging them to do? Are you guys doing or telling them that they should be doing? I mean, obviously TikTok and Instagram. Or is that something that's more from the publisher?
No, very much on the author. We
Okay.
have a full marketing operation. We do a lot with Amazon advertising, with Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, but we are always looking for authors who have an established presence on at least one of the social media channels.
Yeah.
It is a very hard thing to write a book and simultaneously try to build up an audience on Facebook and Instagram. So you're looking for somebody who has that reach and who has the skills to promote their book and themselves. I know a lot of publishers that have a clause in their contracts that require authors to make a video for their book. So that might be an unbooking video or just them holding up the book and talking about it. But it is critical as an author to participate very actively in the marketing of your book and not leave it up to the publisher. because our economics in publishing, expect 8 of 10 books to fail to earn out their costs. And we're going to ride on the 2 books of those 10 that actually make it, and that they're going to cover for all of the failures. So if your book is not working and you aren't participating in the marketing, publishers are not going to suddenly pour in $20,000 sure the book works, because that's just not how the industry functions. The margins are too small.
That's kind of, I mean, it's very similar to how we are in just like a traditional marketing aspect of we need our clients to be engaged, and we can do what we can do, but we need their input as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes 2.
I'd love to hear where you see trends or like just publishing going in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think that publishing is going to bifurcate quite a bit. I think that what we're starting to see is more and more special editions. So making sure that people understand the true value of a book and increasing the perceived value of books. So you're seeing, you walk into Barnes & Noble, you're going to see paperbacks with sprayed edges and
Right. Yep.
foil covers and embossing and all of this. And then on the other side, you're going to see cheaper versions, so print on demand, books coming through KDP. And that is going to create a pretty dynamic market for publishing. On the categories, the romance categories have done incredibly well. We're still in this period coming out of COVID where people are looking for an escape. I think with the current politics in the United States and a skittish economy, that's going to continue. So I would expect to see, vampires and werewolves make a return. The very well-known secret in publishing is it's very cyclical, right? So the Mediterranean diet is going to be rediscovered by the next generation, and all of these publishers will bring back their Mediterranean diet cookbooks. You can expect zombies to become another big topic in publishing within a couple of years. It's very, very cyclical.
Very interesting.
Interesting.
All right. Are you ready for our rapid fire questions?
Sure. Let's go.
Okay. So, these can be of how you feel. Here we go. Print book or ebook?
Print.
Traditional publishing or self-publishing?
Traditional.
Data-driven marketing or gut instinct?
Definitely data-driven marketing all the way. I mean,
I thought you might say that.
I think gut instinct is a form of data-driven marketing. It's just you have to be in the industry long enough to really understand what is going to work or what isn't. But I always ask our marketing team to come into a campaign with the understanding that they don't know anything, and we're going to let the data take us where it wants to take us.
I like that.
Important. Yeah, in all forms of marketing, really.
Hardcover or paperback?
As a publisher or as a consumer?
As a consumer.
I would still go hardcover.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it as a publisher as well. It's an object of art.
And then are you reading early in the morning or are you reading late at night?
I normally read late at night. I read news in the morning and for pleasure at night.
There we go. I like it. Thank you for doing those rapid fire questions. That's always a fun thing to do. I wanted to ask you a couple other questions I had written down. And Michelle, feel free to jump in while I look for these other ones that I had.
Okay. Percentage of like self-help books do you do, such as how to write a marketing plan or how to get started in marketing, things like that?
We don't do a lot of those types of business books, in part because what we're always looking for are books that are going to stand the test of time. So we're looking for a book that is going to have a 10-year shelf life. And books on marketing, it's such a volatile area. It's changing so quickly that unless it is a very broad approach to marketing, understanding your P's, it's hard for those books to last. But we do have several books on how to become a publisher or how to structure your day so that it's more efficient and effective. But we haven't really ventured into the marketing books per se.
I was looking at your website, and was I seeing that you have a couple of books that you've written yourself?
I have a writing partner who I went to high school with, and he and I choose a different topic once a year to write about. So we've together written about 14 different
Okay.
books.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I think that most people who come into publishing definitely don't do it for the money because the money is not good. They do it because they want to flex their creative muscle. And at Ulysses and now at the stable, we've always had a employee authorship program. So if there is a book that we are researching
Oh.
that you really want to write, you have first dibs. So everybody can write one book a year. And some of our employees have become national best-selling authors from that
Oh, I love
program.
that. Is there a favorite book that you've written over the years that kind of like you always come back to that one?
I think my favorite one is Goodnight Dorm Room, which
Okay.
is a parody children's book for high school graduates that's all about what to expect going to college. Covers everything from what you should bring to your dorm room, traditional turkey dump where you break up with your high school sweetheart at Thanksgiving. Just trying to normalize it. It's all of the things I wish that I had known going into college, and I think that that's been pretty meaningful to readers from what we've heard.
Yeah, I love that. I can totally see campaigns in my head. I can already
Yeah.
like feel them ruminating of like, oh, it's back to school time. I can see it all.
No, in Michigan, it's very popular to do open houses when people graduate. And I lived in California, people didn't do that. And I'm like, what? But, I think that type of book would be great for a gift instead of just money. But hey, you're going off to college. Here you go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's interesting. We track the analytics of all of our books and pay very close attention to the way rankings change on Amazon. We use Keepa.com, which is a little plugin that sits on every Amazon page and shows you historical data. So with that book in particular, we see 3 different sales periods. The first is graduation, so April to July. And then we see a big uptick in August and September when students are going to school, and then in December for the holidays. It's
Yeah.
marketing
Right.
tool to have in your pocket.
Yeah, sure. And most of those things probably don't change, right? Because it's not like the way that we as humans act is going to change that much, right? It's
Exactly.
still going to be the same. That's a good thing to consider, with the books. Like, what's going to go out of date? Well, marketing goes out of date every single minute of the day, I swear.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's especially now. I teach a class at NYU on analytics and consumer insights in the publishing world. And for 7 years, I taught the same class and got to reuse my slides. And then AI came along and I was unhappy because I had hours
whole
and
new
hours of
curriculum. Yeah.
it's a little different now.
Yeah.
And marketing is, the speed at which things are changing and the tools that are popping up is very profound.
Are there any specific things that you are highlighting as you're teaching, with that change in your curriculum?
One of the biggest ones is the move from SEO to GEO. That is an area that I think is a huge vulnerability for publishers, especially with the A10 algorithm on Amazon. If you played around with Rufus on your phone or on your computer, we're in a brand new age and we have a lot of work to do. So that is one of the things that I bring up with those students because they're looking for jobs. And I think that optimizing for the new era of search is a huge opportunity for entry-level employees in the publishing industry to come in and say, this is an area of expertise for me. I can really make a difference and use AI to help with building out your A+ content and fleshing out metadata. But that to me is the scariest thing that we're facing going forward is we've lived in a world of SEO for 25 years and we're now for the first time in decades having to make a huge transition to AI powered search and writing for LLMs as well as for customers.
Is there any myths that maybe we didn't get to debunk or that there are about like the publishing world that you'd like to speak?
I think one of the biggest myths in publishing is that publishers make a lot of money off of a $35 hardcover book. One of the things that I show my students in the NYU class is the breakdown of where all of the money goes, right? So a $35 hardcover, half of it goes to the retailer, big portion goes to your distributor. Then you have your author royalty, your cost of goods, your marketing, your editorial expenses. So a $35 hardcover book, the publisher is going to make a couple of dollars off of that book. And that money needs to go to making that book work, or you're deep in the red on that title. So that's one of the more frustrating parts of working in publishing is for decades, especially with the rise of ebooks, we've seen list prices stagnate and artificially stay low. They haven't gone up with inflation for decades. With the pandemic, it's the first time we sort of broke out of that stagnation and started raising prices just because the supply chain was really messed up. And I think that was a good thing. And it's one of the reasons that I'm a big supporter of special editions and limited editions, is because these are very valuable pieces of work, and the perceived value has been artificially deflated, especially by low-cost ebooks as an alternative.
What is one of the books that your organization has published that you're most proud of and that kind of went crazy once it was
I
released?
think that the book that I have always been most excited about is our Hocus Pocus cookbook. And the reason that I'm enthralled with it is that it was sort of the culmination of the data-driven strategy. We saw that there were Hocus Pocus books that were doing pretty well, and then we started really diving into the search data and found out that searches for the movie Hocus Pocus from 1994, it had never been so popular as it was in 2019 or something. And then the big one was, this is a trending topic. Nostalgia for Hocus Pocus is on the rise. Then there was the search pattern, which started in July and ended in December. People were searching for the movie for 6 months. And normally when you're looking at a holiday book, you are anticipating a very short window to market and sell that book every year. And this was a 6-month period, which was very exciting. So we were able to start our marketing in July, run it all the way through December. And that book became a USA Today bestseller. It did phenomenally well. And it was really the insights that our data savvy editorial team provided when we were considering it for acquisition that made that book what it was.
It's
That's
really
awesome.
interesting. I guess I just didn't realize that that's maybe how it would, the steps in order that you guys would take, but that's really interesting that you're starting with data first.
Yeah, it is not. It's
Mhm.
not the traditional publishing model. And I honestly don't think that is going to last. I've always seen it as this big arbitrage opportunity that eventually will go away. My favorite thing is to say, if everybody is playing Moneyball, then nobody's getting anywhere. And the Oakland A's have still not won the World Series despite coming up with
Yeah.
Moneyball. So if you're acting on the data, you have to anticipate that everybody else is simultaneously acting on the data. So
Yep.
how are you going to differentiate yourself within the market if you're going off of that?
One thing I was going to ask you just about AI in general, if you have like an author who is trying to do their own editing, or they have an editor that they're working with, what do you think about using AI to edit? Do you feel like that is good or bad, I guess?
I'm a big supporter. There are some great platforms out there. Editrix is one of the most well-built developmental editing platforms. Grammarly has good tools.
Yep.
I think that, as an industry, we are very tech phobic and slow to adopt. And I think AI, the way that it has been built with the initial LLMs focusing on the written word, has been very scary for publishers. We do not want to publish AI-generated material, but I think it
Right.
is imperative for the survival of our industry to embrace tools that are going to help us with some of the more repetitive tasks, whether that is proofreading, paying royalties, ordering print runs. We have to embrace AI as a huge part of that future.
Yeah. And I guess, unless Michelle, did you have any other questions?
No, I just think it's like really interesting because the way that we work with our clients and, we'll be doing SEO and content is we are also always looking at the data first. And sometimes clients don't want to believe it. They'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, nobody's ever going to want that. And it's like, I don't know. The data says this. And I think we should try it. I'm guessing on your side too, like sometimes people just don't care. They still want to do their book this way. That you guys are definitely looking at the data. Do you have people that are doing that too?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to titles and covers, people are very attached to certain directions, even though you're going to leave a lot of money on the table by taking that direction. And it's hard. I think that, we are in a transition period and there is a monumental threat to everybody's job with AI, and AI is going to go off of the data and make very rational or seemingly rational decisions because it is a machine, it is an algorithm,
Right.
and it removes a lot of the human bias and error, even though it is trained on a lot of human bias and error. So I think that is a danger to everybody in our industry and the marketing world as well. I mean, that a lot of things are about to get automated.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing it already.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you look at the tools that HubSpot has rolled out, it's
Yeah.
really picking up. And I see a world, especially around digital marketing in the next couple of years, where you have AI agents that are coming up with the material for your Facebook and Instagram posts, whether that's video, carousel, single image. They are optimizing 24 hours a day and doing the work of 30 marketers that no longer need to be at the organization. And to me, that is the scariest thing about AI. And again, like that puts you in a position where you could, dramatically improve the return on investment for your digital marketing spend. But you have to consider that every other company is using the same tools, and eventually that advantage is a wash for everybody, and then move on to the next. But it's a brave new world with AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
guys
Keith,
use HubSpot?
We have used HubSpot. We're
Okay.
currently using Constant Contact
Okay.
just with the price savings. I think that eventually HubSpot is sort of the gold standard for marketing, and I'd love to get there, but it would just be a bit of a waste on us at the moment. But I'm very impressed with the way that they're integrating AI directly into the platform.
Yeah.
Well, Keith, we'd love to just hear where our listeners can find you online on the internet if they want to get in contact with you.
Yeah, you can always find me at keithriegert.com or at the Stable Book Group. My LinkedIn is right there. Always connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to have discussions about AI and publishing. I also have a deck that I've put together about how we're using AI in our publishing operation. I'm a big fan of sharing secrets and transparency, and I very much believe that all of us in the publishing industry need to be extremely AI literate. One of the things that has been on my mind is, we're now hiring a cohort of entry-level workers that have gone through at least half of their college education with AI tools at their.
Yeah.
I hear from a lot of senior executives in publishing who have just not tried these tools out And I think that that's a big liability because people are going to bring these tools into your workplace. You need to have strict AI guidelines for your company, and those guidelines need to adapt as these models change and become more and more powerful and multimodal.
Yeah.
I think that's good insight. Those things that you were saying, they align especially with our core values, with the transparency. So we'd love to take a look at that deck.
Yeah, I'll send you the links.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening with us today. Stay tuned for the latest in web marketing and design from ThrivePop. Want to be a pop star? Head over to thrivepop.com/podcast to join our mailing list for episode notifications, sneak peeks, listener feedback, and more.